Hello and welcome to Exploring the Holos. Today I'm going to attempt to explain how the assassination of Charlie Kirk may bring about the second coming of Christ. So, it's been a few weeks now since the tragic death of Charlie Kirk at Utah University, and I want to go on the record right now as to say that I don't condone violence in any way, political violence or any other violence. The only way to fight is through your words, through debate, and to take things to a physical violence level is weak, and it's admitting defeat. It's admitting that you are not smart enough or you don't have a strong enough position to win in the domain of words. So the only way that you can silence the other person is with violence. So even though Charlie Kirk was a very divisive person and I did not agree with a majority of the things that he was putting out there and telling young people, it kind of broke my heart to see what happened to him. He was a very young father and a husband, and he was a very young person, and you never know later on in his life if he could have changed. He was changing some of his opinions, and we're never going to get to find out. This video is more going to be about the aftermath and how the reaction to that disturbs me. It was clear immediately that the political figures in this country were using his death, his martyrdom. I do believe he has become a bit of a martyr as far as his people on his political and religious affiliation. They kind of see him as a martyr. And the political figures in this country took that and used it for political gain. Even before we knew who the shooter was, they were making assumptions about the shooter, spreading lies about the shooter on both sides. They said that he was transgender and that he was a groyper. I don't know if you know what a groyper is. I didn't know until I started hearing about it and I had to look it up. So that would be an extreme right-wing person, which was totally untrue. And the goal there was they were trying to make it part of like a conspiracy to start some kind of a political war. And that's absolutely not what happened. This person, from everything that I heard, recently became more of a left-wing extremist and was very angry that their family was more extreme on the right wing, and they took this as an opportunity to get back at them. So I feel, I'm just going out on a limb here, I feel like this person was hurt that these right-wing pundits like Charlie Kirk, I think they felt that they were taking away their family because their family no longer agreed with their views. So this was not a left-wing liberal conspiracy to start a war with MAGA. This was one person who was very misguided, who did something terrible. And I I want them to see justice, and they will. They are going to see justice. And I'm very against people taking one person's... This is very similar to what happened when the Paul Pelosi thing happened a few years ago. Right-wing extremists broke into Nancy Pelosi's house and beat the living crap out of her husband with a hammer. And you've seen a lot of right-wing people, especially Donald Trump Jr., making fun of him, and they had no empathy whatsoever for Paul Pelosi. So now, fast forward to Charlie Kirk's assassination, and they want to shut down anybody who doesn't have empathy for Charlie Kirk. When, for the most part, I feel like most people do at least have sympathy. A lot of people don't have empathy for Charlie Kirk because of his views and what he said. And I'm not like that. I feel like people are an ever-changing mind, and they should be given redemption. Anyways, how does this tie into the second coming of Christ? So, like I said, the political leaders, especially Donald Trump, are using this to further their authoritarian progress into making this a dictatorship, an authoritarian country. That's why I condemned left-wing politicians or liberal politicians for doing whataboutisms and kind of goading the right-wing politicians. And Trump, I did not want to see the temperature elevated at all. This is time to lower the temperature. We need to unify this country. And Trump was the only president after Charlie Kirk's assassination who did not try to unify the country at all. He squarely came out and blamed extreme leftists, when that's not at all the case. And then from there, it further devolved to language. And then they were saying that the language is what made this person do this. So from there, then they can say free speech. So then we get to what has just happened to Jimmy Kimmel. And what he said, I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to put it up over here. You can see that he is not actually saying anything about Charlie Kirk. He's talking about Charlie Kirk's assassin and how it was used. He's basically saying the same thing I'm saying right now, how the politicians on the right used this to further their political means. And what they did is Donald Trump got his company, ABC, Disney/ABC, to cancel his show. And if it did have anything to do with what he said, then why would it be that right here, back when Stephen Colbert got canceled, how did he know that Jimmy Kimmel would be next? So that leads me to think that this is a plan to get rid of anybody who wants to speak out against him. He does not like criticism, just like any other dictator. He doesn't like jokes. You can go back to before he was president, when he got roasted by President Obama at the Correspondents' Dinner. He was very pissed off, and that's when he decided to run for president and destroy our country. So, how does this tie into the second coming of Christ? Well, I decided for myself that since these leaders on both the right and the left, these politicians, are not actual leaders, all they care about is pitting us against each other. We need to be the leaders. And I'm seeing it more and more across other social media that people are also waking up and coming to this realization that in a kingdom of no kings, we are the new gods. We have to be the leaders. We need to lead by example. This is a time where we don't look to the government to lead us, because until the government is rebuilt with people who represent us, we need to lead ourselves. And if you look at the Gnostic interpretation of Christ, Christ is not a person. Christ is a consciousness and a realization that we are the saviors. We are here to save ourselves. And the kingdom of the Father is not in the heavens. It's not in the sea. It is within us, and it's all around us. We are the Christs. So it's up to us to take our country back and to not be silenced, and find things that we can do to take the power back. And I would like to suggest that any corporation and any corporation that is advertising on the network of that corporation be boycotted. Divestment works. And with the AIPAC and the Israeli-Gaza situation divestment, that's a little more difficult because there are so many companies who are owned and give money to Israel. That is quite difficult, and I can understand when that divestment is a little more difficult. But this should be an easy one, guys. Don't watch ABC. Cancel Disney Plus. Any advertisers that are on that network that you see, don't buy their products. Yeah, if we all do this, it can make a difference. Remember the Bud Light situation. That didn't have a super huge effect, but it did have an effect. If those people can figure it out, we can figure this out. And I think that we are a bigger group. So yeah. And I know people who watch Jimmy Kimmel. I was not a huge Jimmy Kimmel fan, but I do believe in his right to be a comedian and speak out against power. And that is what we need in this country. We need the First Amendment. And it's very important. And I hope that you guys liked the past travel videos. I know that they sometimes tend to get a little bit long. I'm going to try to keep them down. I want to try to keep my videos under 20 minutes. Or under 30 minutes for sure. This one will definitely have to be edited a little bit. There's going to be more different things coming up. I'm going to not tell you what they are. You're going to have to just tune in and find out. Make sure you like and subscribe. And take care. Be safe. Remember to divest. Ad astra, my friends.